Well, hey, church, welcome to another episode of Afterthought. I'm Sam.
I'm Greg.
We're going to be talking about Greg's sermon from Sunday out of Matthew chapter 24, verses 36 through 51. It's kind of a part two of the previous week's Gavin's message.
And then next week, part three.
Yes.
Josh's
Yes.
message.
Yes. We're in a fairly apocalyptic section of the gospel. There's been a lot of talk about the end times, instability within culture. You know, we're podcasting this on a Wednesday morning. The rapture was supposed to happen yesterday. I really hope it didn't, because
It's either really good news or really bad news.
yeah. There's just a lot of questions surrounding what Jesus is talking about, how to interpret the end of days, when Jesus is coming back, how Jesus is coming back. You know, is the rapture a thing, and then there's a 7-year tribulation? Is it not a thing? You talked a little bit in your message on Sunday about a guy named John Nelson Darby in the mid-1800s. Would you mind spending a few minutes just kind of diving into that?
Yeah. So when we talk about the end times, the theological term would be eschatology, which is just a study of the end times, and people are all over the map where it's concerned. And so, you know, we've got people that believe in pre-trib, which would be pre-tribulation, and that's where the rapture theology comes, that, hey, before anything really bad happens, the church is going to be raptured. All the Christians are going to be pulled out. If you've read the Left Behind books or seen the Left Behind movies, it's all wrapped up in that rapture theology. And you know, I went just short of saying I don't believe the rapture exists, but I think there's a compelling case to be made. Just really, when you think about the entire Bible, the subtext of the Bible is suffering. And in the New Testament, if you follow Jesus, you're going to die a horrible death. You're going to be, you know, decapitated, hung on a cross, boiled in oil, all the things that the early martyrs suffered, stoned. So I think you know, I grew up in a culture where it was just kind of understood that the rapture was a thing, and the whole idea was, hey, follow Jesus and don't worry about the suffering part, because Jesus is going to take us all out before anything really bad happens.
Which is a strange thought, considering that most of the Christians around the world, like, think about the Christians in Africa right now, where there's like a genocide happening of believers.
Right.
You know, I think about the underground church in Iran or China, Christians in North Korea. It's like the idea that, hey, God's just going to pull you out before you actually suffer. That thought is like, doesn't make sense.
Well, it feels very Western, very American.
It's an escapist, like, for all of church history and for most of the present church, that doesn't compute.
Right. Well, and you know, I could make the argument almost as if it's a great marketing tool for the church, that, hey, trust Jesus and then you're good.
Who wouldn't want to avoid suffering?
Yeah, I mean, I said it in the 9 a.m. for sure. Listen, I hope the rapture is the real thing, because nobody wants to suffer. I just don't see, it doesn't fit the biblical narrative, especially the whole subtext of suffering. So then you look at the whole of church history. This rapture event was not a thing till the mid-1800s. John Nelson Darby developed this rapture theology based on a few passages, and I can only assume Matthew 24 would be one of them. So he was British, came to America, toured America. He was here several times. C.S. Schofield in 1909 developed the Schofield Study Bible. It was probably the first of its kind. And he took all of Darby's notes and put them in his study Bible. So now you had an American who had taken this concept put it in a study Bible. Now it's kind of disseminated all over the U.S., and it became the prevailing theology of the end times. And I was in Oxford. Makes me sound really intelligent, but I was there with a cohort of pastors last November, and we got the opportunity to sit under N.T. Wright for a day and for a couple hours, and he's a modern day scholar. We would put him in a category with all of the really big ones today, and he talked about this whole idea. Because rapture theology falls under the heading of dispensationalism, which is just a way to segment time in the Bible. These are the times and ages where certain things happen. So it's just a way to order the Bible, and the rapture was birthed out of this. And he said, we came up with dispensationalism. We sent it over to America. We no longer adhere to it. You've taken it, adopted it, and now have sent it, exported it all over the world.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really interesting. He took a lot of pot shots at Americans, but that was the one thing that I just found really funny.
Yeah.
That he's like, hey, we came up with it. We don't even believe in it, but now y'all have adopted it and made it really, really made it the thing.
Yeah.
Especially in the U.S. But mainline denominations, Catholicism, Orthodox, Reformed, Anglican, none of them adhere to rapture theology. And so it's really easy to draw a parallel that all of church history before 1850 did not believe in this. This has only been for the last 150 years or so. So you at least have to call it into question.
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty big. I feel like it would be a pretty big miss to get it wrong for 1,800 years.
Right.
With guys that are a lot smarter. If I gave had this commentary set with all the early church fathers in the passage,
Right.
and it's like you read passages like this and the rapture's not mentioned once. So it's like
Right.
okay. If none of these guys were interpreting scripture that way.
Well, and we taught through Revelation for a year, starting in the fall of 2020, which I felt called to walk through Revelation because of COVID, because a lot of people were like, oh, COVID, we're living in the end times. And so I thought, well, let's study that and see what the Bible has to say about it, and really was convinced after a year of digging deep into it that Revelation is not a roadmap to the end times. Matt Chandler, I said this Sunday, and it's so good. I think it fits how we should view the Bible as a whole, but specifically Revelation, it cannot mean to us what it did not mean to them. So the early readers and hearers of Revelation, they weren't thinking about this long-time future event. They were thinking about Rome. Rome was Babylon, either Domitian or Nero, depending on when it is believed to have been written. It was either in the 60s or the 90s, which I believe it was around 90 AD, which would have been Domitian. That is when they're reading it, they're interpreting it in their culture, their current time. And so every generation is taking Revelation and trying to put it as a template on their day, their age. And so, Mussolini, Hitler, Obama, everybody's got their idea.
Everybody you don't like.
Yeah.
Is the
Whoever you
Antichrist.
don't like and you believe is evil, we'll go ahead and throw Trump in there just for people that
A lot of people don't like him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, so here's where I want to land on this. It's fascinating. You can get on that rabbit hole. You can read books on any position on the end times that you're interested in. Premillennial, amillennial. I joked on Sunday, I'm panmillennial, meaning I could care less.
It's all going to pan out.
Yeah, I just know he's coming back at some point, and that's what we need to be focused on. The thing that Jesus was referring to in this passage specifically, the one last week, the one coming up this week, is you got to stay ready. You got to stay alert because his return is imminent. I did reference Revelation 1:3, where John, in this vision, he's saying, listen, the time is near. We don't know what near means. We just know what it doesn't. It's been 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I forget which Peter it is, but when he says 1,000 years or is a day to the Lord, that's not exactly comforting for our when God says it's going to happen soon. I'm like, great,
right,
that
right.
that could mean anything.
And so it's this whole idea, I talked about D,
Oh yeah,
saying, hey, I stay ready so I don't got to get ready.
yeah.
And
Wearing the basketball shorts under his pants just in case.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he was wearing them on Sunday, too.
Yep.
So going back to the passage, it's so clear that Jesus, throughout the passage, is just showing in different ways, you got to stay alert. You got to be. He was talking about the days of Noah, and I think again, where context matters, he's talking about in the days of Noah, everyone was fine until they weren't, and Noah built the ark. His family was preserved. The wicked in the flood were taken away. The very next verse, 2 men are walking up a hill, one's taken, one's left. Well, if the wicked are taken away in the days of Noah, then he doesn't just switch in the next verse and go, okay, taken means bad in this one, but taken means really good in this in this scenario. And so that's why it's very clear he's not talking about a rapture event. He's talking about the end times. He's talking about judgment. And so the whole idea is, hey, you've got to look, which camp do you fall in? Are you ready or are you not? Have you, in the American church, we tend to be pretty nominal in our faith. It's very convenient. There doesn't tend to be stereotypically this deep call to personal holiness.
Yeah.
And so this is a wake-up call to the church, in 2025. If we want to look at how it applies to us, it's like, hey, how are you living? How are you preparing? I asked the question on Sunday, if you knew that today was your last day, if you knew that today's it, how would it change the way that you live? How would it change the way you order your day? What would you do? If today's your last day, how would it change your priorities?
I would leave here right now. I would go take my kids out of school, and I would spend the day with them.
Yeah,
But I'm not doing that because,
right,
to the best of my knowledge, it's not my last day.
Right, and that's the scary thing. It's we've got to live with an intentionality, and I think we don't take it to the doomsday prepper point where we just live in a holy huddle, scared to death. I got to get all my affairs in order. And I think it's more, hey, I want to, when I'm with my kids, be fully engaged. When I'm with my wife, be fully engaged. When I am, on my job, I want to be fully intentional. It's like, don't waste your life.
Yes.
Don't waste a moment of your life. Every moment matters.
That's good. To be honest, I'm struggling to find a follow-up question to that because that's kind of I feel like that's the main point of last week's message, this week's message, and next week's message.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just talk about. I had 2 points at the end, so maybe we can tease them out just a little bit. But what does it look like for you and me to live in a state of readiness? And there were 2 points. One is daily obedience, and one is living expectantly with a sense of urgency. So, daily obedience, what does that look like? What does it look like to live a life of obedience to Jesus?
Well, here comes the weekly answer. The secret place. You got to get in the secret place. I think also daily obedience, kind of paired with this idea of staying ready. I think it can be easy for us to check out and go well, I'll do this tomorrow, or I'll you feel the Lord leading you to do something, you don't do it, and you go, "Well, I'll do that." I'll do that later. There was a parable. I think it was probably a few months ago that we preached about like who's the disobedient son, the one who says no up front and then doesn't later, or the one who does it or says he'll do it and then doesn't.
Right.
But I think we treat our life that way. Points 1 and 2, the daily obedience and living with a sense of urgency. It's the sense of urgency that drives the daily obedience. Because this could be my last day, because the Lord could come back, or, any myriad of reasons why it could be, anyone's last day, should drive this sense of intentionality. And like, I don't want to put off what God is putting in front of me for a time that I'm not guaranteed to have.
Yeah, Yvonne and I were at a couples retreat for pastors for a couple of days, and we were driving home from Galveston yesterday, and we were just kind of reflecting on, some of the topics that we had been talking about in this group. And I was just reminded in early 2014, I don't remember what the precipice of this question was or this statement, but I remember telling the Lord, hey, if you wake me up at 3 a.m. every morning, I'll get up. And I'm not a morning person at all. It'd be easier for me to stay up until 3 than to get up at 3. But for 30 days, every morning my eyes would pop open right around 3 a.m. It was either 2:58 or 3:01, but I mean, it was like my eyes would pop open, and I would get up. I would go in our living room. I would sit in the chair with my Bible and my journal, and it was easily the richest time I can remember in my walk with the Lord. I mean, just because there was an intentionality about it. Like, it's like he was telling me things. It's when he told me, because this was right around the time that we said yes to planning restoration. And I've got, April 1st, 2014, I've got all of this stuff about naming the church restoration, what it was going to be about. And I can look back now and see how so much of that has happened exactly the way he said. So I say that to say, I feel like that seasonally, like I was telling Yvonne, I'm like, I don't feel distant from the Lord, but I don't feel that. I just remember that time was just so, I couldn't wait when I went to sleep for him to wake me up. Because it was almost like a treasure hunt that like, I know that he's going to say something significant to me when I get up this morning. And I can look back and had some crazy times with the Lord during that about 30-day time. And I was telling her, why shouldn't it be like that all the time? Why, what have I come into agreement with that I can look back and say, man, that was a great time, but why not now? And it's not that I don't spend time with the Lord, but it's not nearly as intentional and expectant. And so I was up early this morning, and it felt just a little different, and I want more.
Yeah.
I want to re-engage with God in that way. And because I know that, I even felt him telling me this morning, hey, I've got stuff for you. I just need you to tune in. I need you to be alert. And I felt convicted that, hey, I can't preach this if I'm not going to live it. It's very hollow. And I think as teachers, preachers, there are certain things that, hey, you can't say it if you're not going to do it.
I mean, I think Paul even says, I want to say this is like in 1 Corinthians, but he's like, I won't speak about that which Christ hasn't done in me. And that resonates, like what you're saying resonates a lot. I think part of the sense of urgency is not like urgency to get something. It's urgency to like if we really knew what was available. Like, if I knew that if I woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning that I would have an encounter with the Lord, I would set my alarm.
Mm-hmm.
But because I don't assume that's a reality, then I get up in the morning and I pick up my phone and I open social media and I make stuff for the kids and I do all this stuff. And by the time I get around to spending time with the Lord, I don't bring anything to the table. I was listening to this podcast recently. This psychologist was talking about how in like younger generations, kids are falling in love less because they're on their phones so much that falling in love is like a dopamine response. And so, but because we're draining all of our dopamine systems on social media and the internet, by the time they actually go on dates, they don't know how to they don't know how to connect anymore. So you'll go to restaurants and you'll see a couple just sitting at the table on their phones,
Right.
because that's the only way they can get a dopamine hit. And I was thinking about that, just fascinating, but thinking about my time with the Lord and going, man, is this why, like, when I'm at the end of the day and I sit and I open up my Bible and try to connect, so many times I feel like there's just nothing there. And it's not that you're not there, it's that I'm not there.
Right.
Like, I've given away all the energy already and all the brain power and all of that stuff to so many other things that I've severed my connectivity response.
Well, it's really funny that you said that because this morning, I mean, my phone is with me all the time. It's in my pocket right now. I get those phantom buzzes all the time, but it's laying, right beside me on the bedside table. It's the alarm that I set. It's whatever. Well, when I woke up this morning and I knew I wanted to get up and just go sit and be, usually I take my phone with me, and I do it in the name of, well, there's something that's going to be interesting and I want to Google or, just do a little research. And I just felt the Lord say, no, leave it in here. And to be without my phone for an hour was like, it actually felt really good.
Yeah.
That no distractions. Because when I came back in to take a shower and get ready, I just glanced at my phone and I had 4 text messages before 8 o'clock, and it's like I would have missed something with the Lord because I would have been distracted. And again, it's a part of living expectantly. If I expect that we're going to have an interaction and I don't want to miss a word, then I need to eliminate all other distractions so I can be fully present. And daily obedience means something different to everyone. Like obedience for me and obedience for you, it's whatever the Lord's calling me to.
It's like context specific for your life.
Right. But it's all under the banner of personal holiness.
So maybe a step, if you're watching this podcast, it's just to ask the Lord, how do you want me to be obedient today?
Yeah. And when you do, just be prepared. I talked about the interaction with the waiter at Los Cucos. We were at lunch yesterday down in Galveston and just asked the waiter. He had brought up, I can't remember how it came up, but it turned out he was like an actor, a thespian, had been at school in North Texas. And I'm like, oh, I went to North Texas. And so there was a quick interaction. He left. Well, then when he came back, he wanted to get back into the conversation because we had acknowledged him. We were interested in him. And now he's, and I said, so if we're going to pray for you any one way, how can we pray for you? And he said, happiness. He goes, I just want to make people happy. I want to make people happy with my life, with the conversations that I have with them, and I want to be happy. And I just looked at him and I said, were you happy right now? And he paused. And I think it was this realization that what he was saying, I don't think he was thinking about it. And then he's like, I think I'm happy right now. like in this conversation, you know? And so we talked for a second and we said, hey man, we'll pray for you. And he went away with this big smile on his face, like, because he felt seen in that moment. And again, I don't know the end of that story, but I don't really have to. I just need to be obedient in the moment, you know, to bring love and peace and hope, and then allow the Holy Spirit to water that seed.
Yeah.
What was it that Paul said, that I planted, Apollos watered?
God brought the increase.
Yeah. It's up to him, not to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, church, I hope this episode has been enlightening, encouraging, equipping, all the E's. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of Afterthought.
See you later.